What's up, everybody? Juan Martinez, a.k.a. Dr. Loves.
And I'm Stephanie Martinez-Ray.
And you've just joined us on This Is Real.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? We are back. And so, I wanted to give this quick shout out. Man, thank you for all the letters. Some of you guys are hilarious, let's respect in the letters, and let's make sure we respect the ladies that are on the show. Also, Miss Stephanie Rave Martinez, meaning that she is married, guys.
Yes.
She's
Casada,
married.
casada.
I mean, this is where
Send them in there to get you guys. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, and so we got a lot of people writing from Dallas. This gentleman, Larry Stacy, also known as Kid from the Coalfield unit. He's in third row SEG, so he wanted a shout out. So shout out to the Kid.
Come on.
And so it's been exciting. Thank you for all who partner with us. ISI. Thank you for partnering. I think we might have another partner coming next year. But thank you, man. Check them out in Houston. I believe they have 2 locations. If you get in an accident, check out ISI because they're not just a business; they're building the kingdom.
Amen.
You gotta do the commercial.
I thought it was going so well.
Now we just want to give a shout out to our sponsors.
We appreciate it.
And those that help us support. I think we're at week 8, going on week 9, and I believe we were over 800 salvations and over 600,000 views. So we're like over 500,000, which is kind of cool. I know numbers just give us kind of basically what we're doing, So we're like excited about everything This Is Real is doing. And so today, I felt like we needed to talk about friendship, right? Because I think if we're gonna be real about this, God has made us relational. But most of our lives, when you're in the world, like, you really don't know how to pick a friend. Mm-hmm. Yeah, matter of fact, even if we get into the dating conversation, because I remember even with you, it was like, be friends. It's like, what's that? Because friend in our mind was like, you just still do what you do. Like, I think they called it friend with benefits, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, which is all wrong. They're all worldviews. They're all lies that we believed, and then we became deceived. Mm-hmm. And so we just all live like that. A lot of times, for those that are incarcerated, they, I don't know, most of the time was the friends I was hanging out with that I call friends, that actually I had a bad interpretation of what friend is. So when you think about a friend, not now, when you think about a friend, or la homie.
I was just actually thinking about that right when you were saying that. I was like, how did I even get some of the friends that I had before I was saved?
Yeah.
Because I never even thought about
Well, that was the thought that I had when you guys were talking about it, was that a lot of times our friends are picked for us, right?
Yeah.
Either your neighborhood, your street, your school, your classroom, and so it's like, or your family, right? And so it's like, your parents are friends, so then y'all are going to be friends. Or we all live on the same street, those are our friends. We rode the same bus, going home from school, and so those are our friends.
That's kind of what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, now, you could say the same. Yes, but I mean, we did have a choice. We just didn't get told.
No,
maybe
I'm saying
because
that's why we thought they were friends.
Oh yeah,
it's
totally.
Just because we were
the
there. Same, or even as adults, like in jobs, like, oh, that's my friend. No, really, that's just your coworker.
Yeah.
But you don't know what a friend is, and so you think that people that you just spend time with are friends.
And I think most of my life too, like, because I've been thinking about like just friendship, right? Because I don't know, a long time ago, I think I preached on something similar, but I think a lot about like how I pick now, but then, and I think like if somebody was in agreement, like let's say, because like the people who smoke weed
hung out with the weed smokers.
always hung out with the weed smokers, and you almost didn't like the heroin user, right? You're like, man, get that out of your,
or
the people
cocaine.
that were in the club drinking,
Right.
Because I saw you at first, you're like, but let me put you in the club then. The people in the club, you hung out with the people in the club. Mm-hmm. Now, you never really I don't know, I personally didn't know like a lot of people that, if you were like not in agreement, that's why they say misery loves company and stuff. You were not in agreement.
Hanging out.
You really weren't hanging out.
Yeah.
So there had to be agreement in something, whether you were playing sports and you always talked about sports, or you were smoking pot, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is a friend?
Because you didn't hang out with did you have a friend? Well, you were the top 10. Hold up.
I was.
Yeah.
What is a friend though? I don't know. I don't know.
All right, so let me read some stuff. Let me read some stuff. Okay, I'm just gonna read you scripture because actually that's where there's a scripture in Proverbs 12:26 that says the righteous choose their friends carefully. So we're gonna say that because we weren't righteous then, right? because our righteousness is in Christ, but we didn't have Christ, so we didn't choose wisely. So obviously right here is even, when it says the righteous choose, so it is a choice.
Yeah.
And so you can only make the right choice when you have a transformed mind, when you literally can, I would say your picker's off, because people, when in relationships, they're like, oh, you don't understand my husband. I'm like, you picked him. You were like, he's perfect. And you picked her,
you
right?
married him.
So as friends, you also get to choose that. So this is what a true friend should be. This is the scriptural of true friendship, right? Found these last night.
Nice.
A true friend shows love no matter what. You want to get into that? Because we didn't show that. I think we didn't even have a definition of love. It was actually lust. Everything was lust, right? Everything. What could you do for me? Even though I don't think we even did it. We did it from a place of ignorance.
Yeah. And I think it was, we kind of talked about it yesterday a little bit too, where it's like, I think we also were like, oh, because you said shows love no matter what, right?
Yeah.
And we had a
true friend shows love no matter what. Proverbs
we had a lot
17:17.
of like growing up, oh, we're not friends anymore, or we're not talking, and so it's the no matter what part, right? Oh, we had a disagreement, or there's an argument, or you hurt my feelings, and so then it's like, no, we're not friends anymore because you hurt my feelings. But it's like, if that's your friend,
that means they were fake friends.
Yeah,
like, friends.
Hey, sometimes your feelings are gonna get hurt, and you gotta like work through it and talk about it.
Great friendships to that point is two people that can have a healthy view. Their viewpoints clash. You're not a real good friend. Like, what's made me and Ruthie's marriage good is a lot of those.
Yeah, facts.
In time, you're not having those anymore because you come in agreement with this, you come in agreement with that. And I think a lot of times back then, when we didn't really have to show love, because everybody was just into like, whatever they were after, right? Whether if it was in let's say not even a relationship, if we were going to party and this guy was going to pay the drinks, then maybe you call him a friend, but he really wasn't a friend. He was just going to pay the drinks.
He bought you drinks.
And so whenever it was easy to depart from that, and there was no love in that, because at that point, like, you got angry, and so you don't have to talk to him no more, right? Yeah. Especially if another friend comes and starts paying the drinks, then I don't need you no more. Yeah. Yeah. And I think in Christianity, we forget that that's not what's supposed to happen. You're supposed to be able to talk.
It's a selfish view.
Totally.
We basically call friends those who fulfill our selfish desires, or if you benefit for whatever. Like you said, we're both chasing the same thing and you have it. We're friends until you don't. And I think that when we realize that we don't need that anymore, then a lot of our so-called friendships, they dissipate, they fall apart.
Totally.
And so then they were probably never really ever friends, because a friend loves you no matter what.
That's what happened even in church life and all that, right? Yeah. I don't think we have the proper
understanding
of even a friend. So we bring that to the church, like, oh, he did this, so like you said, I'm bothered, so I'm not gonna talk to him no more. Well, I'm just gonna leave the whole entire church, or I'm not gonna be a part of that ministry anymore. Well, like, maybe because I just had this conversation with somebody else where I go, maybe you were wrong. Maybe you personally were wrong. He's like, what? I'm like, yeah, maybe you were wrong. And in having that conversation, you might become aware of where you were wrong. And man, that friendship gets stronger. But nobody likes to do that. Everybody likes to run around and do whatever they want to do. Look at the next one. A true friend gives heartfelt advice, bringing joy to the heart. A true friend rebukes when necessary, but the correction is done in love. Proverbs 27:5-6. A true friend rebukes when necessary, but the correction is done in love. Let's talk about that.
Well, I think as you were talking about it, it just made me think of like how many people that you were probably acquaintances with, and you called them friend. Yeah, they weren't actually your friend, because with friend.
Oh, well, yeah, the whole acquaintance thing. That's so. I mean, yeah, go ahead, keep going.
I mean, it's
true
because
we separate
a friend.
A lot of
It's like another level of someone that maybe you know.
Yeah.
And so but the thing is that you don't want to hurt people's feelings, so you're like, oh, that's my friend. That's my friend. Oh,
yeah, everybody's your friend.
So everybody's your friend. And
you start off with like friend.
Yeah, yeah. And so then you were saying that corrects, and so sometimes
rebukes when necessary, but the correction is done in love.
And so sometimes you put the label of a friend on an acquaintance, and so the second that you have a disagreement or a different viewpoint from the one that you had with your friend, now they don't agree, they don't see eye to eye, instead of rebuking, right, or coming into correction or agreement with your friend, you're like, nah, bye, we're not gonna be friends anymore.
You said something though that made me think, like,
Are you ready to take your relationships to new heights? We'd like to invite you to the most anticipated event of the year, the Love Wins Conference.
Join us February 9th and 10th for an unforgettable weekend filled with love, laughter, and growth. Whether you're newlyweds, celebrating years of bliss, or going through rough patches, this conference is designed to reignite the flame and strengthen the foundation of your relationship.
We've put together a team of relationship experts who will share their wisdom and strategies for navigating the twists and turns of your marriage, from communication to intimacy, conflict resolution to emotional connection. Our speakers will empower you with the tools you'll need for a lifelong, fulfilling partnership.
Get ready to roll up your sleeves and participate in interactive workshops where you'll dive deep into your relationship, uncover hidden truths, and explore new ways of building trust and intimacy. You'll learn practical techniques that will help transform your relationship for the better.
And it's not just about learning, but also about creating memories together. Join us for our Love Wins Prom Night. It's designed to strengthen your connection and reignite the spark. This is a chance to break away from the daily grind and rediscover the joy of being in each other's arms.
So mark your calendars and join us for a transformative weekend at the Love Wins Conference. Ignite the passion, deepen the connection, and build a love that will stand the test of time.
Reserve your spot today and invest in your marriage so you too can say, Love wins.
Because I think if we could understand that part, the progressive state of building a relationship, right? Because we're like, friend, okay, you always hear us say, man, you're dating and you're acting like that's your husband and your wife.
Yeah.
Like, why are you washing the clothes? You're not even married yet. Why are you buying a Louis purse? Like, you know, like you just met, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's so important to have some investment in that relationship is what considers you a friend. And I think it's funny because you're absolutely right. If you're a true friend, then you're gonna, ain't nobody like, man. Well, I'm a little bit like that where I like. I mean, it's gonna sound really weird, but I'm okay with being rebuked, if it's truth.
Yeah, because
it helps me grow.
Yeah.
You know, but nobody likes the way it feels. Mm-hmm. And it says, but the correction is done in love. And I think as a friend, if you're calling a person a friend, they should have that ability to speak into your life.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem is that you call everyone a friend and they're not actually your friend. And so then when they behave as a friend, you get rubbed the wrong way because it's not, you didn't actually mean it when you said that that's your friend. Mm-hmm. Because when you are friends and you can be like, hey, kind of like, I don't think you were accurate in that conversation, or your tone this or whatever what you said was harsh, then you see it, if you're perceiving that person as your friend and it's a true friendship and relationship, then you're like, this is a friend. This person cares about me. This person loves me no matter what. I accept their words with no offense, right?
No. Yeah. So okay, I'm going to keep going, but I'm going to show you this. This next one says, a true friend influences and sharpens. Now, according to what we're saying, if we're going to see, okay, this is a friend, then the opposite of that is one that influences you in the wrong things, or never corrects you, or agrees with you, even though, because the classic, right? Yo, man, you start complaining about, let's say, because I'm talking now from a worldview, right? Everybody thinks like this. I don't know if y'all did this, but I know I did this a million times, right? Where you're like, man, you get upset, you got your beer, whatever, you're talking to somebody and you're like, you know what? She did this, or, Marco did this at work. And they're like, man, cut him off, or like, yo, let's go out tonight. Forget them. Yeah. Oh, you did that real. You look like you've done that a lot, didn't it, Stephanie?
Yeah.
Not with those words.
Forget them.
Forget them, right? Or like, man, maybe you should break, like it almost leads you to a place where it's going to make it worse. Mm-hmm. So if a friend is one who does all these things, the opposite of that might look like that. Mm-hmm. And so it's important to know that, because then you would have to now base on this truth. Is that person you're saying a friend?
Yep.
Because a friend would never want you to be hurt.
Yeah.
And so I think maybe it's not done intentionally, though. Maybe when they say, let's go get a drink, they actually think that doing that is going to help you, or finding another person is going to help you.
Well, I mean, that's kind of like how we cope with stuff, right? Mm-hmm. That's how we expressed our feelings and emotions. We got high, we drank, So
that was the comfort.
Yeah.
That was, instead of Jesus.
Avoidance of any
that was the numbing mechanism.
Restoring forgiveness, humility, any of that, to be like, oh, well, no, instead of maybe you humbling yourself in receiving a correction, no, it's cool, I'd rather just not talk to that person anymore because it's easier to not have them in my life than it is for me to correct any behavior that I've done myself.
Yeah, it feels better.
So a true friend, it says also in Proverbs 16:28 that a true friend avoids gossip. What'd you say about that? Woo! That's a good one. I feel like there's two guilty parties here.
I was going to say, I think there, at least in my experience, has been a lot of kind of, because, okay, as Christians, we're like gossip. Oh, I don't gossip, you know? And maybe you're saying that, but you're saying it because maybe you're not the one speaking the words. But if you're in a room and someone is speaking gossip or speaking the words or whatever that is, and they don't want to go and talk to the person about it, and they're just spewing it to you, I think what happens in like a Christian mind, right, of like, oh, okay, well, I'm not going to gossip because I'm not going to chime in. But the moment that you lent the ear, you're participating in the gossip because you could have just easily been like, hey, you know, do you want to talk to that person about it? That's avoiding the gossip. Or, hey, maybe you should just, I don't feel comfortable with you sharing that with me. I'm not in that situation, or I don't, you know, I would rather you just speak to them or whatever. But we don't like doing that because, again, avoiding confrontation and all that sorts of stuff. So really think we're not gossiping or we're being a good friend because, well, they were all saying it and I didn't chime in. I didn't say anything. Yeah, but you also didn't chime in to tell them to stop or tell them that, hey, I'm going to step away from the table or whatever. You lent the ear. So if, let's say we're in this room and somebody starts gossiping and then we all walk out because the person's talking, there's no ear for them to speak to. Are they going to keep talking to an empty room? Probably not.
We're going to follow you.
You know?
What about the person? Because I to everything, I feel like there's a healthy place, right? Because then it's like there's a person that says, well, you know, let's say you have a mentor, you have something. Because I also, sometimes you got to let something out, you know. If not, you go bananas, right? So do you think that that's gossip? Do you think like if you go to a person that
to vent,
your
basically?
pastor,
I think your intentions behind what you're sharing, and then your actions following them.
Yeah, I think sometimes that may happen. Somebody maybe will hurt your feelings, and you do want to express to somebody that person hurt your feelings. But it's kind of like at that point, the person who's receiving, like she was saying, kind of has to dictate, hey, you know what I mean? I get it, but let's go talk to them about it. Totally. You know, and if you don't, I understand that, but you can't continue telling people this because that's gossip.
Yeah.
It's okay for you to, it's okay for us to express how we feel, but not
there should be an action item.
Well, yeah, I think it's the intention behind.
They made me feel. It's like, I feel like this.
Yeah.
Like I learned that in my relationship with my wife. Okay. Because we're so
quick. We're getting raw now.
We're so quick to point like you made me feel this way. And you
slander.
Facts. And that never ends good. It ends well. And it actually pushes the other person to defend themselves. So if you just say, I feel like this, you know, it changes the dynamic of it.
And here's a good sign. Like for me, when somebody, because I've done this a couple times, somebody comes and they're like, you know, this person did this. So I say, man, do you really care? I do this. I go, do you really care about this person? They go, yeah, absolutely. And I go, all right, well, I think you should have a conversation with them, or I think we should bring them into the conversation and I'll mediate. I did this a lot when we were in the dance studio, you know. I said, I'll mediate, you know, I'll bring them. They go, nah, it's cool. I was just telling you. I go, no, you're lying. You're lying. That's how you really catch someone in a lie, and you know they're a gossiper. And I've said this to people. I go, you're lying. They go, what do you mean I'm lying? I go, you're lying because if you cared, then we would both go and give this person good truth. When you're saying, there's a difference between I think a talebearer, right, and a person that is telling the truth, like where we get tattletale from. Yeah. You know, a tattletale is like, you know, you're gonna tell you're the son and say, you know, Ernesto did this so that he could get in trouble, right? But a person that cares will say, hey, and they say, well, can we go talk to him? And we both go talk to you. That's different. Yeah. If you're just sharing something so that person can kind of get the rebuke or the whatever, they're in trouble. That's the difference.
And don't do the gossip tattletale either. No. It's just so that you could pray.
I was gonna say that. It's
that's the thing. Is like I think like you said earlier, the intent and the motive. Like if it's not to fix and correct, then why are you telling? I think I told somebody that was one time telling me about myself that somebody else was telling them. Yeah. I said, so how are you gonna fix their problem with me? Like, how are you going to fix mine and their issue? If they have an issue with me, they should come tell me.
Yeah.
Same thing. If you have an issue with somebody, if they hurt your feelings, if they offended you should go talk to them
That's
all
funny.
day long.
and if you need a mediator, like, get that.
I say that all the time. I'm like, if they haven't talked to me about it, then clearly it's not a problem.
Yeah.
Clearly I don't have a problem.
I don't know why they're
then
telling you.
You ain't even
We've
talking to
been
me
in that
about it.
scenario a couple times
Yeah.
where I made
Right.
that you were working with the guy and I made the guy talk to
Yeah.
I go, hey, go talk to him. You're right there with him.
You're standing next to him right now.
He's like, he's paying me. I can't do it. No. Yeah, okay, so here's a true friend forgives and doesn't hold grudges.
Come experience the love that will change your life every Sunday at Get Rap Church.
Visit us at 23221 Alding Westfield Road in Spring, Texas, 77373 for 3 services at 9 a.m., 10:15 a.m., and 12 p.m.
Not in Houston, not a problem. Join us for our online service from anywhere in the world by downloading our free Get Rap TV app or by visiting Get Rap Church's YouTube channel.
Also, be sure to check us out at Get Rap People on all social media platforms to stay up to date on everything happening at Get Rap Church.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it says. What do you think? You should.
I think it
I feel
comes
like it's a
from
progressive
the-
state of forgiveness too, because
Facts.
right, you're always gonna get like offended.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I think
for
it just
something.
stems from like the love part, right? If you love your friend, that you know that there's different I don't know, stages of like maturity for everyone. And so maybe they did do something wrong, right? Maybe they did hurt you. Maybe they gossiped about you. Maybe
This is
they
good.
did whatever, right? And so if you love your brother or your friend or, you know, your sister enough to reconcile and to extend the forgiveness,
Yeah.
then it is a progressive state to get to the healing and maybe the part to where the friendship can return to the level in which it was before. But when you love the friend, then, you know, you're willing to forgive.
That's really good.
Yeah, I mean,
Robert, go ahead.
I just like I'm just thinking of like, so you kind of have to walk like kind of testing, you know what I mean? Because I think sometimes we do forgive, or we say we forgiven but we really haven't, you know, or maybe we want to reconcile but maybe it's not time to reconcile, and kind of just like walking that out, because sometimes people haven't changed, you know, and maybe they are sorry, or maybe they're just sorry they got caught, or whatever the case is.
Hot.
Yeah, you know, and they just want to apologize to have them back in your life, or you in their life.
Yeah.
And kind of using discernment on, hey, are you mature? Like you said, are you mature enough to for us to be reconciled to that fashion? Because sometimes they're not, and
Yeah.
you're just, and I get it, like Jesus, you know, like at that point, Jesus does that with us.
Yeah, and all day long, I think something that, when I think about like friendship, I think, you know, hanging out is cool, you know, because that's something we say, right? We hang out, right?
Yeah.
But we hang out for fellowshipping. There's a lot more. It's not just hang out. Hang out has a deeper meaning for us, right? But like in the world, if it was fun, you're like, these are my friends, you know, so it's always fun, right? But I think biblically says a true friend helps in a time of need, you know, out of Ecclesiastics. And I think about that. Like, I'm your friend because if you have an emergency or you need me, right? I'm not talking like my coffee spilled. You're gonna say like
Yeah.
it's super important. I'm there for you. And for everybody that knows me, it doesn't matter how busy it is. If you send me like, it's an emergency, like I'm gonna drop whatever. It just happened,
Yeah.
right? I'm gonna drop whatever because love always wins, right? So love always interrupts. Like I'm gonna drop. I don't care what it is, but you have to communicate that, because I'm not like psychic. I'm like, why didn't you tell me?
You didn't
That's
know.
another thing. And so it's not that we hang out all the time.
Facts.
Because sometimes you can't. Like you try to find pockets. Like you're only Jesus hung out with 12 all the time. Think about it. He talked to everybody. He hung out with 12 people, and then he ministered to the 3 that really poured into the rest. And
even then, sometimes it would burn off.
oh yeah, totally. He's like, I'm out.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, sometimes with social media and all that, like we think we're supposed to have like 30,000 friends. That's really hard, because you're putting the pressure that I can't. It's impossible. Like
It's unfair,
I've tried
too.
it. Yeah, like because I think sometimes we get offended because, you know, person wasn't there to talk or this or that, and maybe they are gonna be, but like in 3 days. And so I think to understand that a friend, you know, there's one that says a friendship closer than a brother. You know, those who do the will of the Father, right? Like a friend is not just because we're like, it's not the worldly friend, like because we're at the club every weekend.
Yeah.
Proximity.
Yeah, it's yes. Yeah, I think the access, right? Like friendship
Yeah.
has a certain access.
I mean, there's gonna be friends that buy. It's funny because we talk about it sometimes here at the office where we're like, we just saw so and so we kind of hung out because we work together or something. But then maybe we go and hang out and go have dinner. Or then we go and meet and hang out somewhere else. And it's just like the proximity of it just means that we get along, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're kind of, I guess, developing that friendship, because there's friendships that you have that maybe you don't see each other all the time. Maybe you see each other, once every other month or something like that. But I think it's knowing in that relationship where each person stands, and just in their stages of life and stuff. I remember I had a conversation one time with a friend that was like, I feel like I don't know, they were going through something and they were reaching out to me a lot. Yeah. They were like, well, I feel like I'm being a bad friend because how are you doing? And I was like, you don't need to like try to return the favor of like, I need to spill all my stuff to you, right? If you're in a time of need and I'm here for you in that moment, then that's what being a friend is about. It's not like a tit for tat thing of like, okay, well, you listen to me for 3 hours, so now I have to sit here and listen to you for 3 hours and all of that. But it's just like, it just works in the sense of like when there's a time of need,
Yeah. I think that in a friendship, there's friends. There's two friends. Mm-hmm. So it's not just that somebody is your friend, but you're also the friend.
Oh, yeah. Friendship is roles and responsibility for two people.
Yeah. Like even sometimes when we hear that, we're like, I need to find somebody who's that for me. But you also need to be that for somebody else. Yeah. You know what I mean? So like in the sense of our friendship, I can't, if you don't answer, I have to love you no matter what.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Like,
in relationship, like spiritually, there's 3 levels to that. So you have this level of like someone that's pouring into you. Mm-hmm. You have the level that, hey, we sharpen each other. Yeah. Right? And you have the level where you're pouring into somebody else. Mm-hmm. To have a good, healthy, you should have all those 3 levels, mm-hmm. right? Because you always need somebody pouring this way. Right. They just don't pour so you can get super fat with all this wisdom. You sharpen with somebody because you're like, oh, did you read this? Did you read that? Kind of like what we're doing here. Mm-hmm. And then you should be pouring into somebody else, right? And so I think that's really, really important. In Deuteronomy 13, it says that a friend can lead us astray spiritually, and Israel was warned. And look at what it said. It said, if your very own brother or your son or your daughter or the wife you love or your closest friend secretly entices you, saying, let's go worship other gods, gods that neither your nor your ancestors have known. Now, I think it's kind of interesting because here it's saying that basically, the meaning when I see friend, like Jesus is the perfect friend, mm-hmm. right? And it says, no greater friend than this, one who would give his life for another. Yeah. That's Jesus to me. So when I think of like a great friend, I think of that mold right there, right? So a great friend, he's gonna basically, you're almost like giving sacrifice time, to that person, especially in an ever-present time of need. Mm-hmm. And it's not gonna lead you astray, because sometimes you can have a good friend that really just because you can't like almost discredit. Yeah. You have this good friend, but they're maybe not saved yet, and you've known them for a long time, and they've been there for you, and they've done a lot of things, and they've cried with you, and they've done this, but they're not maybe believers yet or in Christ. And I think that's where you have to figure out, like, if they're true friends, full friends. Proverbs 19:4 says, people we thought were friends can prove false, deserting us in our friendship when our friendship no longer benefits them. Right. That's fire. And so I think those are really good, like, acid tests. I think everything has to get tested.
We want to thank all of our partners who support us. Because of you, This Is Real has a tremendous reach from Houston to Galveston and up to the Austin area.
This show reaches over 100 prisons nationwide with over 500,000 inmates tuning in weekly to hear the good news through our radio show and the Pando app.
To partner with us, visit juanmartinez.tv or download the free Get Rap TV app.
So like how would somebody handle that? Like, let's say, for example, somebody has a friend who is not a believer, right? Yeah. But they have been there. They have supported. They have given the hug, and maybe they don't give bad advice. Yeah. You know what I mean? And but now it's like, man, they don't believe in Jesus, and I'm trying to do this Jesus walk. because I think no matter what, there's always going to be some sort of tension.
Sure. I'm going to give you that.
You know what I mean?
I was going to say, I actually have a really good friend of mine who I feel like...
Shout out to the really good friend.
Who exemplifies friendship, I feel, more than... Who isn't necessarily walking, towards Christ, but I feel exemplifies friendship more than what a lot of believers do, because I remember having that conversation at one point where it was like, hey, I'm going this way, right? And so it was something as simple as like, hey, birthdays that are being celebrated at a bar or here, I appreciate my answer right now. I'm like, I appreciate your invite that you want me there, and I want to celebrate, birthdays and friendships and all that too. But if they're there, I don't want the invite anymore, because that's not where I'm going to be at. And so that friend was like, cool, like, I respect your thing, and I'm not even going to invite you, because then I don't want my feelings hurt of like, man, you always say no to me, and I want to respect your thing and allow you to grow in the thing that you're doing. Amen. And so that friendship, right, is still in good standing, because it's like, hey, I'm not trying to bring you down, know, because it's true. That's what happens because a lot of times we'll lie to ourselves. Well, it's just a birthday, and it's just this and it's just that. But as you spend time, you're just going to develop into those desires if that's something that you struggle with or struggled with.
Truth bomb. That was definitely a truth bomb, because basically you said what I was going to answer, Pastor Nesto. Biblically it says that bad company corrupts good character. Mm-hmm. So like, let's say you're a friend, and because I have some people that I grew up with that I consider friends, but we haven't talked in so long because we're going in two separate directions, and I don't know if they could, even though I think they can handle this, I'm like, come in, but I think in their mind, because we had this conversation when I went home one day, they think like I'm gonna show up and be like, rebuke. I'm like, I'm not gonna be like that. I just don't do that. Yeah. And so they're not okay with leaving this scenario, their scenery. I started thinking rap, but their scenery, and I'm not okay with leaving my scene either. Mm-hmm. So at that point, you kind of depart because it might corrupt my character. Yeah. The Bible gives 2 warnings about 2 types of friends we're not to be friends with. Okay, I'm gonna read them to you. Proverbs 22:24. Make no friendship with a man given to anger, nor go with a wrathful man. And so if you have a friend who is constantly and you try to talk to him, right? He's just hot-tempered. Look at the other one. If sinful men entice you, do not give to them. So basically, do not be a friend who's just hot-tempered, and don't go with them in that angry wrath, because that's going to get you in trouble. That's how you go in the car with somebody to go beat somebody up. That's how you go roll up on somebody. Like all of those things.
I was going to say, even in the world, man, that just didn't even sit right with me, because I'm just like, look, if I'm good with 3 drinks and you're trying to push 4, 5, 6, nah, I'm good. Like,
you were just a different person.
You know what I mean?
You were like, you were destined for good.
But what I mean, because there's always the one enticing you, right? Yeah. Well, let's go here. Well, we just spent 6 hours at the club. Let's go to after hours. It's just more and more and more and more and more.
So don't be a friend with that one, and don't be a friend with the one who entices you. Right. That's what it's basically saying. This is 2 wrong types of friends. The hot-tempered one and the one who's always enticing you to do wrong. Mm-hmm. So if you go and you try to get advice, and they're like, hey, go to the club, find somebody else, that's not good advice. Hey, forget that dude. You don't have to talk to him. Cut him off. That's not right. Because I think sometimes I look, because we're good at like going from here all the way to the other side. So when like a book comes out on boundaries, right? You boundary everything. And it's like, no, like you can't, like yes and no. Yes, boundaries are supposed to be healthy. They're good. Mm-hmm. But sometimes God wants you in that person's life that boundaries is growing and trying. You know what I'm saying?
They're for you. They're not for somebody else.
Yes.
It's to say, okay, let's say you are, like you said, friends back home or people who don't see eye to eye. That doesn't mean, what Jesus are you demonstrating if you're just like, oh, you're not gonna like surrender to Christ? Okay, bye. Like, I want nothing to do with you. Like, no, we're not gonna hang out. We're maybe not gonna see each other as often, but I'm here if you need me, and I'm still going to reflect Jesus, in the situations and the conversations that we do have, right? Yeah. because I think that's what you're talking about, kind of like the whole, oh, you know, I don't know. People kind of go on extremes too, where then they justify they justify the hanging out with bad company because they're like, well, we're not supposed to like cut people off, and then they cut people off, and so it's just like,
I think that's low key justifying their.
No, that's what I mean. Yeah,
like their reason to still live in their desireful.
Yeah, well, I don't have to talk to them because of this.
Desireful.
Desireful.
On this show, and this is real. We make up words. We do all
definition. Desireful.
Yeah, and something I preach this scripture a lot, and I just think it says it all. Proverbs 13:20. Whoever walks with the wise becomes wise, but the companion of fools will suffer harm.
Yeah.
So if you're suffering harm, you're probably hanging out with fools.
Yeah.
Right.
And then why? Why are you still hanging out with fools?
Hey, why are you hanging out with fools, fool? I think it's important for all of us to really have this understanding of friends. You know,
How
just
many of us have them?
Wow. I three wild that like one. I don't know whether do we have a
I've been dying to say that.
Hey, that fit there.
That fit. Yeah. The guy on the button, he's like, come on, hit the button.
Lord help us.
I think it's really important because, now let's put friendship in different things.
And that's a wrap. Thank you. This is Real Family for joining us. You can be a part of the crew by following us on social media or writing us at P.O. Box 671-626, Houston, Texas 77267.
And don't forget, stay real.